Hello everybody, welcome either back to my channel or welcome to my channel in general. It has been a hot minute since I have done my film reviews. I have been seeing some movies. Again, just to start things off, last year I watched a total of 20 movies. This year I only saw 16, but as some of you know, if you've kind of stuck around and hung out with me through the year, I've had a lot of job changes. It's finally mellowing out and I'm learning my schedule really well. But I left a corporation and started home grooming, dog grooming at home, as well as joining a mobile grooming. So it's kind of been fluctuating. I substituted there for a little bit. So it's just been difficult to work out all the kinks of my tiredness, availability. And again, like I was saying, as some of you may know, I have joined BookTube, where I am actually reading a lot of books this year as well. I mean, only 6 so far. If I finish that one, the one you're on right now, which is Needful Things. I've really gone down a deep dive of Stephen King. I wanted to get ready for It, Welcome to Derry, which is out now. Season finale this Sunday. So excited. But I wanted to start reading, so I read It. I started with reading the biggest book, It, and I won't talk too much about that, but I have read It, The Shining, and so with It, Welcome to Derry, Dick Halloran is in the book It during the black spot, and now in It, Welcome to Derry, he has such a prominent role where basically it's like he's using the shine to see the deceased to help. That's how he got help out of the black spot, so, which was mentioned in the book. So it's really great to see this. So that has taken up a lot of my time, is reading, and I've kind of been doing more BookTube stuff anyway, and kind of having a little bit more fun with it, because with films there's plenty of film reviewers out there, and I stopped doing film reviews with the Black Phone 2. I've seen, last year I saw 20 films, this year I've only seen 16. And I stopped with the Black Phone 2, and I never put out my review. I never reviewed The Conjuring Last Rites. I just never found motivation to say anything nice about that film. Sorry to anyone who likes it. It's not the worst. Spoiler alert, it's not the worst. But I just had nothing nice to say about it. And then Shelby Oaks is kind of the opposite issue. I liked it so much that when I was watching other reviewers review it, I kind of had to be honest with myself. People are saying, oh, so many people are saying this is a good film. And it's kind of like they have rose-colored glasses on, because this is a film reviewer on YouTube's directorial debut. And so, yeah, of course, it's great. And I'm like, I think I have rose-colored glasses on right now. It is a good film. But the film review I was gonna put out was very much praising it as if, like, yeah, as if it was the best one this year. And now that I'm looking at all the 16 films I've seen, I'm like, yeah, I think I have rose-colored glasses on. So I think that kind of deterred me from making long featured film reviews. But what I'm gonna do in this is rank the films like I did last year, the year before. And I'm actually going to get posters. This is Terrifier 3, which was the winner of last year's best film for me. And so I'm going to get posters of all of the best films and make that my setup next year. So 2022 was The Northman. 2023 was A Haunting in Venice. 2024 is Terrifier 3. And then what is this year's? Let's find out. I'm basically going to go in order, and I will timestamp these in order of the films that came out as they came out within the year, and give you guys the ratings, because I even realized I have reviewed The Monkey, the first film I saw this year, and I never gave it a rating. I had so many life changes at that time. I was leaving the corporate job, and it was really difficult on me because it was something I never wanted to do or expected to do. So I really was putting very minimal effort into that review. I was like, here's The Monkey, here's the cast, okay, bye. And I never gave a grade or anything like that. So that's kind of what I'm going to do now. And so let's get right into it. This is not the ranking. This is just a list of films I've seen in the time order of how they came out throughout the year. So the first film I saw this year was The Monkey. It came out February 21st, rated R. It's an hour and 38 minutes. It is directed by Osgood Perkins. The budget was $10 million to $11 million. Cast Theo James as Hal and Bill. Tatiana Maslany as Lois Shelbourne. Rowan Campbell as Ricky, which is really nice to see him. I saw him last in Halloween Ends. So as Corey Campbell. No, not Corey Campbell, Corey Cunningham. So it's nice to see him again. Elijah Wood is really interesting, but nice to see him as Ted Hammerin. Adam Scott as Captain Petey, a.k.a. Hal and Bill's dad, and Christian Convery, who played Hal and Bill as their young selves. So how I used to always grade these, I'm not going to go into too much depth about what the films are about. I'll explain a little bit what they're about and what I think could have made them maybe better or anything like that. But my grading back in the day was writing, cinematography, rewatchability, acting, intrigue, and editing. And this one I gave it rewatchability. I have rewatched it a couple times. It was intrigue. It was interesting. In editing, the gore in this is absolutely amazing. So this gets the score of a C. With The Monkey, I do like how, even though they had to change him from the little symbol, because this is a Stephen King adaptation from a short story, which Skeleton Crew. I did get this, and I got it at Needful Things, the antique shop. Everything this year is Stephen King related, but we have an antique shop, and I actually had a booth there called Needful Things, which is interesting because I'm reading Needful Things. Anyway, I found this in Needful Things. No, Leland Gaunt is not the owner of Needful Things, but could you imagine? But this is only like either a couple cents or maybe $1. I don't know. I haven't read it yet, but I'm definitely interested to read it. And again, it's kind of like how I learned with The Black Bone this year. That's just a short story in a book full of short stories. It's so interesting. I've loved learning that. So I can't wait to read it. But kind of like how he has the symbols here, they did have to change it to drums because Toy Story used a little monkey with the symbols. And of course that's Disney. They're not going to give up those rights. So he used the drums. And I really liked it. Issues I had with it was that sometimes, like when the babysitter passes, I don't think anyone wound the monkey up or that the babysitter even knew the monkey. And in the intro, Captain Petey, their dad, played by Adam Scott, says, if you mess with this monkey, he will mess you up. She never messed with him. So a lot of times people don't mess with him. It's just if you wind him up, which Bill, the not so nice twin, does a lot, trying to get back at Hal when they're adults, trying to get Hal's son. And kind of like how Hal learned when he was a kid, when he was mad at his brother, he wound him up saying, I hate Bill. I want him to not be existing anymore. And the monkey did his little drums, and it actually ended the life of their mom because it doesn't pick and choose. And the mom never knew the monkey either. So I do feel like there's definitely some issues with it. And I think when I originally saw the trailers for it, I was thinking more of The Monkey Paw by Edgar Allan Poe, which that's another segue I want to go down sometime, is Edgar Allan Poe, and read all those. But overall, I really liked The Monkey. It was the first one I saw this year. The next film I saw was Death of a Unicorn. This came out March 28th, rated R, an hour and 48 minutes, directed by Alex Sharfman, sorry. Budget $15 million. Cast Jenna Ortega as Ridley, I think. Will Poulter as Shepard. It was so nice to see Will Poulter. I think he is so funny, and he definitely, if this film wasn't that high on the list for him, it did go up a lot because of Shepard, Will Poulter's character. He's so funny in this. Paul Rudd as Elliot, Tia Leone as Belinda, Richard E. Grant, so great to see him again, as Odell, and Anthony Carrigan, again, great to see him as Griff. For this, I'm going to give it acting, intrigue, and editing. Although actually the editing I did not like the design of the unicorn. Later, we're going to talk about another film that deals with kind of like a deer-esque, like a deer, more so a deer type of thing. And I think the editing of that deer was a demonic deer, was a lot better than this unicorn. So it wasn't the greatest, and I think I liked it originally. But again, it was just like next to the monkey, so at that point, it really stood out. I liked it better than the monkey at that time. But looking back, I'm not going to rewatch it. No offense. Maybe if it's on, sure. But I'm going to give it D+. Death of a Unicorn, what I was thinking more when I saw the trailer of it was The Last Unicorn. And I thought that would have been interesting if they had more so done something like that of The Last Unicorn. And it's like, this is a sacred thing that we really need to cherish and take care of. And then we learn there's a whole lore. I did like the tapestry aspect and how it tells the story of how people do try to control the powers of the unicorn, and then the unicorns end up not enjoying that and taking vengeance on the people. So it had intrigue for sure, but it just wasn't my favorite. Next, I saw Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. That feels like more than a year ago I saw that one. Like the other two kind of stand out, but this one, I was really excited to see it because I love Mission Impossible. Was the first one called The Reckoning? I don't even remember, but the first half of this one, my husband and I saw, and we really liked it with the whole submarine and everything like that. It was really interesting. This one fell a lot flatter than the first one. It came out May 23rd, rated PG-13, 2 hours and 49 minutes. Director Christopher McGuire. Budget $300 to $400 million. Cast Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt. Haley Atwell as Grace. Palm Kemetiff, sorry if I said that wrong, as Paris. Ving Rhames as Luther. Zai Morales, I'm so sorry, as Gabriel. This one, I give it cinematography. Of course, it's Mission Impossible. It looked gorgeous. Rewatchability, I might actually take that away in this moment. I did add it, but I think I'm going to take it away because I don't think I'll sit through this one. I'll sit through the first one more so. The first half of this Mission Impossible. I did like all the flashbacks. I probably wouldn't if I had grown up watching all the Mission Impossibles, but because I didn't, I enjoyed the flashbacks. Acting, of course, and intrigue, I did enjoy. Editing wasn't the best because, again, they just threw in a bunch of flashbacks, so it wasn't that great. But, oh, Gabriel, yeah, the funniest part of this one was the villain, Gabriel. Very cartoony, way up in the sky, and Ethan's hanging on the side of the plane, and he's like, oh, well, only one of us has a parachute, and he's like, bye, and he like lets go of his parachute, and it doesn't work, and he just dies instantly. And then Ethan, who he thought didn't have a parachute, like just floats away. I thought that was so goofy. It wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the most interesting. I think I did fall asleep during this one. And it's not because I was working so hard. It's because it was, yeah, I fell asleep because of the movie. C+, it wasn't the best. Definitely not the best in the series. Definitely wasn't the worst I've seen this year, though. The next film I saw was Final Destination Bloodlines. This came out May 16th. It is rated R, 1 hour and 50 minutes. Budget $50 million. Cast Breck Basinger as Iris Campbell, Caitlin Santa Juana as Stephanie Lewis, Richard Harmon as Eric Campbell, Tio Briones as Charlie Reyes. Love seeing him because I saw him in the Chucky TV show. So it was great seeing him. Oh, he is only in season 1. Yeah, so it was great seeing him. Owen Joyner as Bobby Campbell, Alex Zahara as Howard Campbell, and Tony Todd. I was just saying it so nonchalantly. And Tony Todd as William Bloodworth. This film, I loved it, so I'm giving it cinematography. I'm actually going to give it writing in this moment. I didn't give it writing, but Tony Todd's speech, and I'm going to tear up. I'm like, oh, it's been so long ago. It's been since May. No, I'm going to tear up. His speech was so perfect for the character. William Bloodworth saying goodbye. And then Tony Todd saying goodbye. That was perfect. And I think they let him like write that part. I think. I don't know. Don't quote me on it. Sorry, I did not expect it to still hit me. Because it's been a minute. Cinematography, rewatchability. I've already rewatched this one so many times. If it was just for Tony Todd, I would give it acting, but because everybody else is in it, I'm not. I did like Iris Campbell. Both older and younger Iris Campbell did great. The person who sings it for me is Stephanie's character. I also give it intrigue and editing, because obviously Final Destination. I give this one a B+. The parts that annoyed me was after we see the skyline, and I already knew what was going to happen. It's in the sky, it's a big ring, and you hear Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire, and I'm like, up fire. Like, I called that the instant it happened. And I called it in my film review, Final Destination, Revenge of the Petty Penny, because, as you guys know, they discontinued the penny, so this is the penny's big FU to having to be discontinued. It's just a joke. But no, Stephanie, I did not like how we see the premonition, initial premonition from Iris's point of view, and then we go out, instead of going out from that same person, it really threw me off. I'm used to it now because I've seen it a couple times, but the first initial, I hated that we came out and it's this random girl, and I don't know who you are, and I don't care who you are, and I did not like her at first. I've come to go like, okay, I get it, but I'm still not a fan of her character. And then Bloodlines, it took me forever to realize that the bloodline, well, obviously until I saw the movie, but what really set movies apart for me this year is I did not watch them. I did not watch the trailers of them, of any of these movies. I just went in blind, so I didn't know what bloodline meant. So seeing it, I was like, oh, that's what that means. So I really liked it, B+. It's definitely up there for me, and I have rewatched it several times, so that also just means I love this film. And obviously Tony Todd, I can't even talk about him still, and it's been so long. Hope those aren't showing up. The next film came out May 30th, rated R, an hour and 39 minutes, and it is Bring Her Back. This is directed by the Filippo brothers, Michael and Danny Filippo. Budget is $15 million. Cast is Sally Hawkins as Laura. Billy Barrett, loved his acting. He did so good as Andy. Misha Hayward as Kathy. And Sora Wong as Piper did absolutely fantastic. I don't know if it's her debut acting, but kudos. She did great. This, it gets all of it for me. Writing, cinematography, rewatchability. I have rewatched this one so many times already. Acting, intrigue, editing. It gets an A+. For me, it's a 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. Like, I love this film. It's very disturbing. And anytime my daughter, who's 2, plays with any kind of silverware and someone's like, oh, that's okay, I'm like, I'll show you Bring Her Back. And you will know it's not okay. It is not okay. Especially with the knife. Like, what are you thinking? But it was really good, and it really, I think the only thing, if I were to change anything about this film, is to go more in depth with the video footage of the cult. How did Laura get those films? How did she know what to do? Kind of what, like when the little boy, he's bald. I'll feel stupid in editing, and I'll put his name down and everything, and she said he was another boy with red hair who is her actual nephew. Wish they just went more into the cult and how she even found out about it and everything like that. But overall, I love this film. It was my favorite. I rewatch it all the time. I threaten to make people watch it all the time. So A+ for me. The next film, now I didn't watch this next. I watched it much later, actually pretty recently, last month maybe. But when I realized after I watched Predator Badlands that we had another Predator movie, Killer of Killers, I was like, I have to go back. Because Prey, was not doing YouTube videos back when Prey came out. And it didn't get a theatrical release, and I really wish it could. If we can put old movies like The Shining, which I'll be seeing this Sunday, if we can put old movies back into theater, can we get Prey back in the theater or put it out in theater? That movie deserves a theatrical release. But Predator Killer of Killers came out June 6th. It's rated R, an hour and 30 minutes. Directed by Dan Trachtenberg. Budget $50 million. Cast Lindsay Levanchi as Ursa. Lois Azwar Chenichin, I'm so sorry, as Kenji. And Damien Haas as Andres. This is an animated storytelling of predators, and it goes basically they are collecting all those who end up conquering predators, kind of like how in Prey that girl, gosh, I don't remember any characters' names right now, but she conquered that predator, and she shows up at the end of Killer of Killers. And so this kind of tells what they're doing with them, basically. And they're kind of collecting them. And so cinematography, rewatchability, intrigue, and editing, I give this one a B+. The next film that came out, and I went and saw in theaters, and I don't know why I was interested in this one, because I hated the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey trilogy. I wasn't really a fan of them changing it, but I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And then I was just like, oh, whatever. I just didn't care about them. But Bambi The Reckoning came out, and I saw the trailer, and my husband was like, it's coming out in theaters. I was like, I'm going tomorrow. I don't know why. I love deers. And so especially with Christmas time, I just love deers right now. And so I was like, I really want to see it. And this is kind of the deer I was talking about at the beginning when we were talking about Death of a Unicorn. I did not like the design of the unicorns, but I really liked the design of Bambi. And being demonic, he actually looked creepy AF. This is a not rated film. Director Dan Allen. It's an hour and 21 minutes. Budget $250,000. Cast is Roxanne McGee as Zaina. Tom Mullerin as Benji. It's not the highest rating, but I did love it. For me personally, I did love this film. Rewatchability and intrigue. That's about it. The story was kind of thin. There are points that did not make sense. There are characters that, like the brothers, in fact, both brothers kind of died, not stupidly, very bloody, but without anyone caring. He wasn't wearing a reflective jacket and went out to go find them where Bambi attacked the mom and son. And because he wasn't wearing a reflective jacket, the dad's bad group accidentally shot off and shot him in the head. And he didn't even get to find anyone or know anything going on. And then his brother, the son, accidentally, the dad got, or the brother got looped, tied to the car, and the son's just driving down the highway, and he's like getting skinned, concrete skinned, and he's like, Mom, is everything okay? And she's like, just keep going, let's just keep going. And it's like they just glossed over both those deaths. The thing I think that could have enhanced it is more backstory on the grandma. How did she know about Bambi? A lot of these things are more like, how did they know the lores of these things? Like, she had premonitions of Bambi, but they never seemed connected, and Bambi didn't hurt the grandma, so it's like, why? Next film, I didn't see this one in theaters. I saw it at home. kind of like Predator, Killer of Killers. But I wanted to see it in theaters. We just never got out to see it. But when it came out on streaming, my husband, sister, and I did watch this film. We were all excited to go see what it was about. Weapons came out August 8th, rated R, 2 hours and 8 minutes. Director Zach Kreger, budget $38 million. Cast Justine Garner. Oh, wait, just kidding. Justine Gandy as Julia Garner. Yeah. Justine Gandy as Julia Garner. Josh Brolin is really nice to see him in this as Archer. Benedict Wong as Marcus. Justin Long as Gary. Amy Madigan as Gladys. And Carrie Christopher. What a name. That's all I'm going to say. What a name. Carrie Christopher. It's an inside thing, but what a name. As Alex. And this one blew us all out of the water. We loved this one. We watched it, I believe, Halloween night. I give it writing, cinematography, rewatchability, acting, and intrigue. And I give this one a B+. It was so good. My favorite thing is I've been reading a lot. Like I said, I'm going more towards BookTube. So taking these as chapters, as Julia, Archer, gosh, I didn't write down, but the principal. And we, you see these weird things happening, but you're not understanding what's going on. But then it'll go to the next chapter person. And I was going to say, if it had stayed with Julia's character, I did not like her. She was snooty. She was trying to ask to talk to the boy who had all this trauma happen to him. And the principal's like, no, because he's had trauma. And she's like, well, I'm going to talk to him anyway. It's like, leave the kid alone. And she kept like stalking him, kind of. And I was like, I don't like her at all. I cannot follow her for a whole movie. And I didn't have to, because it went on to other chapters. And I love that. But toward the end, like, it all blended in so well. And that's the thing. I loved how it weaved it all in. And that's really what Needful Things, the book I'm reading right now, I'm trying to get through, is doing. Is it will tell one story of someone and then go across town, tell the next story. But this definitely bled all through really well. And if this was a book, I would love to read that book. That would be amazing read. The only confusing thing was Weapons. When Archer has that nightmare and he goes and follows his son back to his house, or back to where Gladys's house is, and there's a weapon on the top of the house. And that's not explained, and I've watched interviews, and the director really isn't explaining anything. It's like, it's up to your interpretation. To me, it's just, okay, that explains the movie. I don't like the name of the movie, but maybe that we use kids as weapons sometimes. It was very sad in some moments. And then also, something I think that could have improved, unless they're going to make a sequel, is I would have loved to have gotten a Gladys chapter. That would have been awesome. Next movie I saw, and I did see this one in theaters, and I finished the book. I started the book. It came out in September 12th, and I started the book in July to get ready for when this released in September, and I finished it in July. The Long Walk by Stephen King, the book Stephen King. Came out September 12th, rated R, an hour and 48 minutes. Director Francis Lawrence, budget $200 million. Cast David Johnson as Peter McVeris. When I was doing my book review, I kept saying McVries. I think it's McVeris. Sorry if I'm still getting it wrong. Cooper Hoffman played Ray Garrity, and I really like that because that is, I'll put his name down too. I should remember, I'm going bad on names right now. But he plays in the Hunger Games, and where I know him best from is Red Dragon. But that's his son. And Mark Hamill as the Major. And this movie, I'm giving it on writing. I'm going to give it on rewatchability. I did not think I was going to give it on rewatchability because it's such a difficult topic. And it was such, I'm going to choke up here too. Just feel it. It's such a difficult topic with everything going on literally the week before it came out. Yeah, because this came out September 12th, so a couple days before the film came out, or maybe a week before I saw it. It became too real. And rewatchability, acting, intrigue, editing, I give it a B+. The hardest thing about it was that, obviously, a few days before this film released, something tragic happened in real life, and a lot of people just didn't care. A lot of people were just so desensitized by it. And it basically kind of, this is supposed to be a dystopian universe. When I read it, it was a dystopian time frame. Who knew in a couple months we're basically in that, where it's like what Peter says to Garrity at one point when the second boy gets his ticket. And when you get your ticket, they take your life away, basically. And so when he gets his ticket, he's like, Garrity looks to Peter and says, oh, I can't wait till this gets easier. And Peter just replies, that's my fear. That people just passing right in front of us is just so everyday. And especially at that time, it was really feeling like every day. Not every day someone was, but like actually kind of, because the same day that horrific event happened, there were two school issues going on where people lost their lives. And yes, one was very public figure, but that doesn't take away the idea to me that still in two different places in this world, lives were lost. One was just really well known, and the others, it doesn't take away from the others. I didn't know about the others at first until someone was like, oh, why is everyone talking about this guy's passing when these people passed too? I didn't know. And both are tragic. Both are so sad. And in the book, the changes, I did have a long review on this if you want to watch this one. But the biggest change for me, I didn't like it at first. I've grown to understand it. But at first I didn't like it because in the book, Ray Garrity is the winner. And it's very ambiguous. He looks around and he sees the major, and then he sees a figure way beyond the major. And he's trying to think like, well, who else have I not outwalked? Everyone's gone, so how is there still someone I need to outwalk? And that shadow comes up and touches him on the shoulder, and then he is able to run. It's very ambiguous. In my opinion, he didn't make it, and that figure was death. And in this one, Ray actually gets his ticket, and the change of him and Peter in this adaptation is so beautiful, because Garrity goes in with this vengeance. I'm going to take down the major. That's going to change everything. And that's what people think. If they take this person who is an authority down, everything's going to change. And spoiler alert, it won't. Guess what? The long walk's still going to happen next year. It's still going to effing happen. And Peter's the one who's like, dude, I just want to sit down. And I just want a friend. And if he wasn't in there for vengeance. But when he lost the only person who was close to him, which was Ray, kind of in memory of Ray, but also he did have that anger at the end. And that's what I didn't like, honestly, is because he gave such a beautiful speech of like, well, this is why vengeance isn't the answer. And then he ends up doing it anyway in memory of Ray. But it leaves off kind of ambiguous too, because the major goes away and it's quiet and the crowd goes away and you just see Peter walking in darkness. So again, did he end up not making it? It's a very difficult movie. But I have rewatched it, and I will probably continue to rewatch it. It's a good movie. But it was harder to watch than it was to read, just because of the time frame it came out. Next one is the one I stopped doing film reviews on. I did do the film review on a couple films after this one, but this one I had nothing nice to say about. The Conjuring, Rites. This one came out September 5th, rated R, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Directed by Michael Chavez. Budget $55 million. Cast: Vera Farmiga as Lorraine Warren. Patrick Wilson as Ed Warren. Mia Tomlinson as Judy Warren. Yeah, I give this one intrigue. It's a D-. It's interesting because it's the last one. I did talk about the things I like first. It was, again, hard. I don't know why I keep liking to watch things that are so hard for me to talk about. But the intro of Lorraine giving birth to her daughter, and her daughter not having a heartbeat and not breathing at birth, and pronounced dead on sight of birth, and you see the demon, and she prays, and she says, please don't take her, please don't. God, why do I keep doing this to myself? That was so hard, and I was with my husband, and I was crying, and he knew why, because that stuff just, it's really hard. And I was so happy when, even though obviously she made a deal with the devil, most likely, basically, I was so happy when that baby started crying, and she was okay. Besides that, my biggest issue with this film is that this is supposed to be the story of why they stopped doing their job. It seemed like Lorraine was already done doing it. They didn't want to go to this family that was having this issue, and the only reason they did is because their daughter went. She's engaged to someone, and she wants to help this family. No one's been helping them, and they called Lorraine and Ed, and they're like, hey, would you guys like to come out and help this family? And they're like, no. So she goes out there, and then they're like, oh, we have to go retrieve our daughter. So they go out there. They're like, come on, let's go back home. And she's like, no, I'm staying. And they're like, I guess we'll help. Like, very just like pulling teeth for them to help this family. And then they fight a mirror, and it's very confusing, and they didn't care, so why should I? And I think what could have made this interesting, but I understood they couldn't do this because this is based on a true story, and their daughter in real life is not possessed. So I understand they couldn't just rewrite history, because this is a little bit of history, just a little bit. It's very loose. Probably the loosest adaptation of the Conjuring stories we've gotten. And but to me, what would have been interesting is that if at the birth scene, when she's like, please don't take her, please don't take her, the demon goes inside the baby, like its soul overtakes the baby, but it acts normal, as if it's a normal little girl, as if it is Lorraine and Ed's daughter. And you see the flashbacks, and you see Lorraine interacting with her daughter, and the big reveal at the end when she becomes demonic and she becomes creepy. It's like, this is the being you have raised. And that's why it had to be Lorraine's last job, because she could not end the life of this form that looked like the daughter she raised. Kind of like what's happening in Welcome to Derry right now, where the daughter's having a hard time realizing that entity is not her dad. It is, her dad is long gone. He's been gone for years. And she's like, what did you do to him? It's like, I ate him. Like, sorry. Something like that. But that's not what happens. It is her daughter, and they just have like this weird mirror fight. And I just had nothing nice to say about this film when it first came out. And this is the first time I'm talking about it, because I'm like, kind of like how I feel with Shelby Oaks. It's like, it's such a stupid concept to rewrite history. I know I'm probably going to get a lot of, well, they couldn't do that because, you know, the daughter really wasn't possessed. I know that. I'm just saying, I think that would have been a more interesting concept. So anyway, D-, not a fan. The next film I saw, I did like it. It's called Good Boy. I kept seeing posters of this. I never saw the trailer, like many of these films. And I kept thinking it was a joke. I thought, I didn't know it was an actual dog. I'm glad it wasn't CGI'd. I understand the idea of having to CGI animals because, you know, we don't want to hurt animals. We know the history of Milo and Otis. I can't even watch animal films without feeling sad. But this is a dog named Indy, played by Indy, and her dad is the director, Ben Leonberg, sorry. I can't even read my own writing. Ben Leonberg. It came out October 3rd, rated PG-13, an hour and 13 minutes, directed by Ben Leonberg, budget $70,000. And the only cast member I put is Indy, because she's the only cast member that matters. I give it cinematography, acting, and intrigue. And you know the acting goes to Indy. Best dog ever. I understand this took 4 years to film because getting dogs to behave is very difficult to do. And I do have a film review on this one where I did make a little short scary film of my 3 kiddos. If you want to check that out, go to the playlist and go find it. But the acting of the humans wasn't the best. But I like that the director was the dog's owner, and he took very good care of his dog while on set. So, you know, like, nothing bad is happening to this dog on set. It was really good. It was really interesting. Indy acted her booty off. I think the only scene that really kind of got everyone in the theaters, didn't make anyone cry, I don't think, but made us sad, was when this owner, I didn't put his name down, but he starts being just not the nicest to Indy, and he leaves for an entire day. And he acts like he's going to feed Indy. He's like, oh, here's your food. And then just leaves. And Indy's over there chomping, but then realizes, like, where's Dad? And goes to, I think Indy's a girl. Sorry if Indy's a boy. Oh my gosh, I feel terrible. I'm so sorry. But goes to see where the dad is and just starts crying. And you know that cry. You know that cry. Even if you're gone for 2 seconds. And you know that cry. And she, like, goes to the window to try to find him, and he comes back like so much later. All like he has medical issues, and it's really silly kind of him to go all the way out into a cabin where his grandpa passed by himself with his dog when he has medical issues. So his sister's calling all the time asking if he's okay. But he comes home. He lays on the bed, and he's all like, oh, you know, like how dogs do. Are you okay? And I think he had some kind of wound on his arm. And as dogs do, they want to heal you. So Indy's over there licking the wound. And he's like, no, get away from me. No, get away from me. And then he actually, like, I think he either, like, grabs Indy like this or just pushes. I can't remember. But, like, does something that everyone was like, oh, like, don't do that. Like, I didn't think the owner was the greatest. But the dog that was leading Indy to what's happening didn't make it. And so that dog's skeleton is in the bottom of the basement. And I knew the instant the dad, you know, you see the life go from his eyes. And then he wakes up and he sees Indy and he's all excited, but then he looks over and he sees a body on the bed, and it's him. And then this entity takes him, kind of like how it took the last owner, and Indy goes to try to save him because that's what dogs do. He's a good boy. He's a boy, Amanda. It's literally called Good Boy, dumbass. That's on me. It's not a girl. But he follows his owner down there, and he gets trapped in there. But thank the world, the sister, who, even though the brother was like, oh, leave me alone, you stupid, talking to his sister main, talking to his dog main, she goes out there to make sure he's okay. And she sees the remains of the dog before, most likely thinks that's Indy, but then sees Indy. And you see this moment where the dog is like, he doesn't want to leave, even though he knows his owner's passed. He still doesn't want to leave his owner. And I was like, you get your butt out of that basement right now. And then he leaves. And I was like, thank God. I thought he was going to just stay there. And that was going to make me so sad. And there were moments I choked up. But I give this one a C. I could rewatch it, but it was kind of lengthy. I do remember thinking, like, because there was so much rinse repeat. Like, he would see something, have a flashback, wait for his owner, see something, have a flashback, meet a neighbor, see some. I'm like, God damn, can we get to the point? Sorry for my swearing, but like, can we get to the point? So it's about 15 minutes over much, but overall, great film. I did love it. I have to crack my neck for this one. The next film is the last one I have on this channel, and it's the one that just, not a fan of this one at all. I loved going down the journey of reading it. The Black Phone is just a short story, 20 pages in the Joe Hill's novel, 20th Century Ghosts. I was like, well, how are they going to make not one, but two films out of this? The first film was great. The first film really gave beat per beat from the book. And I love the scene when the, what's his stupid name? The grabber and Finney first have their conversation. That's beat for beat for in the story. And mannerisms and all was absolutely great. And I liked how they changed him from a clown to a magician. Even in the book, he's a magician. But Joe Hill was like, oh yeah, I was going to make him a clown, but there's already a famous clown that takes kids. And I'm like, oh, he's talking about It. Because I've already read It. So, and I read The Black Phone. I read 20th Century Ghosts, but I read The Black Phone, watched the first one, went straight into The Black Phone 2. The Black Phone 2 came out October 17th, rated R, an hour and 54 minutes, directed by Scott Dickerson, budget $30 million, cast Ethan Hawke as the grabber, Mason Thames as Finley, Madeline McGraw as Gwen, Jeremy Davis as Terrence. I'm going to give this no points. And it's going to get an F-. I'm sorry. I know that there's something I could give it technically. Maybe editing. I did like how they did the flashbacks as that grainy feature. You knew when you were in a flashback. Whoa. And I'm not going to call out the YouTuber reviewer, but I will say to probably maybe even several YouTube reviewers, but there's one of mine who really loves Nightmare on Elm Street with Freddy Krueger. And is like, oh, I'm so starved for Nightmare on Elm Street that this idea of the grabber, who now has no identity except for a Freddy Krueger knockoff, gave me a little bit of water for what a Friday the 13th film could be. So I was happy with it, and I think it's great. I think they could have scratched this whole idea, kept it as one film. It's only one story. And just been really working on a Friday the 13th film. It would have been great as a Friday the 13th film. A lot of what happens is great. If it was a Friday the 13th film, it's not. And now the grabber is just a knockoff version. And Ethan Hawke is now ice skating, and I walked out of this film. I walked out and I haven't looked back. If you're mad about it, you can be mad. That's fine. I'm not mad at the reviewer. I think, like, everyone has their opinions. That's my opinion. So, kind of like that person says, you know, everybody has a certain something. Doesn't mean you have to be. Anyway, Shelby Oaks. This is the film. This is the film I stopped doing reviews because I realized I did have rose-colored glasses on for this film, and I may still have some on. Shelby Oaks, released on October 24th, rated R, an hour and 24 minutes. Budget is $1 million. Director is Chris Stuckman. Cast Camille Sullivan as Mia, Sarah Dern as Riley, Keith David as Morton, Michael Beach, which is really interesting seeing him in it, as Detective Allen. This, I give it intrigue. I'm going to give it rewatchability. I haven't rewatched it, but I liked it, and I did refer it to my husband because he likes those. I'm not really a fan of the paranormal activity kind of footage, found footage, but my husband likes that stuff. And I'm giving this one an unrated because I'm too biased. I am so excited for Chris Stuckman to have had the stream, and it's come true for him. I do agree with other reviewers that maybe if he directed something someone wrote, that would be interesting to see. I don't feel bad that people are maybe not giving this film the best praises, because that just means that's something you can work on. And maybe that was on purpose. Maybe it's on purpose. I'm going to give you a mediocre for now. That way, when I give you my best, that's when you can't have your best be the first thing out the door in a lot of things, in a lot of aspects, books, movies, drawings, art. So I really liked it. I did fall asleep, but that was due to tiredness. When I work the mobile grooming, I am there from sunup to sundown. I get up as early as 5 a.m. and I get home as late as 9 o'clock at night. So very tired. So going and seeing this at like 10:30 at night, I did fall asleep. I think the only complaint I have is some of the jump scares, because I do remember in a lot of his reviews, a lot of things he kind of like gives points away for as jump scares. And one of his jump scares actually woke me up, so I was a little thankful, but I'm like, why are we doing jump scare? But overall is pretty good. I did like Mia as the main protagonist, and Riley was interesting. I did miss somewhere, probably when I fell asleep, that there's a jump in time. So when I saw Riley again, I'm like, the f happened to her? And she had a baby and all this stuff. Like, I was so confused. And then Mia being overtaken, it didn't end happy, and I was happy with that. So I liked it. I would give it a higher rating than unrated, but rose-colored glasses, I'm very much aware. The next film I saw was Predator Badlands. This film came out November 7th, rated PG-13, technically rated R, but because the blood is green, PG-13. An hour and 47 minutes. Director Dan Trachtenberg. Budget $105 million. Cast Elle Fanning as Thea and I don't know the other one's name, but both the AIs. Demetrius Kolomatanji, I'm so sorry, as Deck. I give this one cinematography, rewatchability, acting, intrigue, and editing. Give this one a B+. I love this film. I thought it was so good. I was a little skeptical because, again, Prey was my favorite, and I hadn't known about Predator's Killer of Killers yet. So I was very like, oh, I want to go back and watch Thunderbird, I think is her last name. I can't remember the actress's name or character in Prey, but I loved her story. I was like, I want to see that again. And the little ending scene in that, when you see all the other Predator ships coming, they're like pointing up and you see all the ships coming. I'm like, I want to start there. But this was interesting in mixing oh my gosh, why am I blanking on so many names and terminologies? In Aliens. They're not called AI. Synthetics. Mixing the synthetics with the Wayland Yutani and all that. Like, I was just nerding out. And you guys, whenever, my husband and sister can tell you this, whenever we see a movie, they know I sit at the very end. Well, I kept getting something wrong with the tickets here. So they actually got me upgraded to IMAX, and it was completely booked, and they had me sitting next to people, and I was like, oh my God, but I'm so excited to do this. And it's kind of got me out of my rut of having to sit at the end. And I kind of enjoy sitting with a crowd especially during a movie like this on IMAX. It was absolutely a great theatrical experience. Not really too many complaints. It was a good film. Unlike the last film I saw. Not the last film, the second to last. We're getting there. Keeper came out November 14th, rated R, an hour and 39 minutes. Director Osgood Perkins. Budget $6 million. cast Tatiana Maslany as Liz, Rossif Sutherland as Malcolm. I give this one cinematography and editing, and I give it a D-. I heard that this one was also being filmed around the time that The Monkey was. That's why the reuse of Tatiana Maslany in Osgood Perkins' film. And I will say, so far, my viewing of Osgood Perkins directorial films, not the best examples. Maybe I'll see something better. But he is the son of Anthony Perkins, who played Norman Bates in Psycho. So I want to support him. His cinematography was really great. I loved all the water references. There's one scene where she's in the bathtub and it like transitions into the river, and it looks like for a moment she is in the river. It was really cool. But this film, the way it started, I thought that Malcolm was collecting these women. They had like blood on them, and during the flashbacks at the beginning you see them just screaming, and it looks like they're in a basement. It looks like he has them down underground, but I guess they're not. I guess they are the beings there, and he's like 1,000,000 years old or something, and he dates them through the centuries. He dates women through the centuries, takes them home, or takes them to this cabin and sacrifices them to this being. And so he takes Liz, and they don't really know each other too well. And there is someone she keeps talking to on the phone. We never see her face. I don't think she ever comes to save her, anything. And then there's his brother, and his brother and him are both the old, centuries old. They'd be doing this to women and then feeding them to this entity. Maybe it's it. No, okay. I don't know. But she was so silly because there's a cake, and when the brother and his girlfriend come over, she looks at, there's a moment the women are alone. The men are like, let's go talk, and the women are alone, and supposedly his brother's date can't speak English. I can't speak English either. Just kidding. I just stutter. But she's not able to speak English. She speaks a different language. Well, when the girls are alone, she points over to the cake, and she's like, it tastes like shit. Like, don't eat the cake. It tastes like shit. And she's like, okay, that sounds like a warning. Well, they leave, the brother and the girlfriend, and Malcolm comes down. He's like, oh, yes, what a good evening. Oh, by the way, let's eat this chocolate cake. Again, the chocolate cake that girl just told you tastes like shit and to beware of. She's like, oh, I don't really like chocolate. And like, yeah, we were about to get it on, so like, why do I really want chocolate right now? A chocolate cake, and chocolate's not my fave. And he's like, please just eat the cake. Please just eat the cake, please. And dumbass takes not just a bite, but like she tastes it, and then she bites it, and she takes a couple bites, and then they go to bed, and then she wakes up, and it's like she has an issue I used to have in a day, when it's like you don't eat all day, and then it's like when no one's looking, you go and just gorge on it, and the sounds of it and everything reminded me so much of those back in the day moments for me. But she's just devouring this cake, and I was like, okay, girl, it has to be drugged with something, you dumb. But she's just devouring this thing, and it's just, and she didn't know him too well, but she's like defending him, and then they're not really doing anything. She's visiting him in this cabin, and they're not doing anything in the cabin. There's literally a moment where he's talking to her on the couch. He's like, oh yeah, I have to go to work. Yeah, my patient may be dying. Maybe, I don't know. And she's just like on the couch. She's like, okay, I guess I'll just stay here. You will? Okay, yeah, because my patient may be dying, so it may take a while. You'll be okay? Yeah, guess I'll be fine. I'm like, the fuck are we doing? Like, it was so weird. And then he couldn't remember the patient that he had made up and told her about. And basically, he thought at that time that the entity thing would come by and like end her life. So when he comes back, he's like genuinely, she's like around the corner. He's genuinely like, oh shit, you're still here. You're still alive. Is she still living? Type of thing. And then she ends up realizing what he's doing and turns the tables on him. Oh yeah, and the women, the creatures or something. I don't know if they're women of the past or if they're the creatures. That basically there's a woman that started it all back in like the 1900s. I'm watching it, Welcome to Dairyville, just started in the 1900s. And when Malcolm was a kid, him and his brother saw a woman that looked just like Liz.
I don't know why my files get corrupt usually, so at least we made it toward the end of the video before it got corrupt. But Keeper, I'm just gonna give it D- for cinematography and editing. And again, it was just a very bizarre film. It had a good concept to it, but it really just was slow paced, and then with a very bizarre payoff, it didn't really go anywhere with it. So the last film that I would rather talk about is the last film I watched, which is Wicked for Good. And this is the continuum of Wicked. And a little backstory: when I was in drama class in middle school, all the kids wanted to audition and really get to play the parts in Wicked, and I just thought it was overhyped even back then. I was just like, I don't care to be in this play, so I just didn't. I never even auditioned for it, but that was like in middle school, so it wasn't anything big. But I do understand that this is a difference from The Wizard of Oz. I'm a huge Wizard of Oz fan, and as much as I do try to separate the two, there is one glaring issue for me as an animal activist, as someone who has grown up with animals, dogs, cats, everything. I love, my favorite animals are lions. I've always loved the Cowardly Lion. And you can't just, I understand that it's different from The Wizard of Oz, and I respect that. But my number one issue is that it's like they're trying to make the Wicked Witch of the West, Elphaba, an animal activist, when in The Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch of the West is mostly known for going after Dorothy and her little dog too. And she was a character brought to life from Dorothy's real life, where the neighbor was trying to put Toto down, send him to the pound, and in his time frame, his timeline. It's like, I just had an issue with them really trying to make her an animal activist, because I'm like, I know it's different from The Wizard of Oz, but there are glaring issues, even more than that. But the rest of it, I can be like, okay, it's more like a fan fiction thing. But when you do think of, when I think of the Wicked Witch, I do think about how mean she was to Toto, because that's a huge issue for me. And so for her to be like, oh, I want to protect the animals, I was just like, what the fuck? And then there's a lot of other issues with the first one. I wasn't a fan of the first one. There are too many glaring issues. The School of Shiz, I'm like, when did Snoop Dogg come out with the school and all that stuff? But now that I'm more in the lore of everything, I do give this one a B+ for cinematography, rewatchability. I've rewatched it a million times already. Acting, intrigue, editing. It's really good. I didn't talk about the facts of it. It came out November 21st, rated PG, 2 hours and 17 minutes. Director John M. Chu, budget $150 million. Starring Ariana Grande as Glinda, Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba, Jonathan Bailey as Fiyero, Ethan Slater as Bach, Marissa Boyd as Nessa Rose, Jeff Goldblum as the Wizard, Michelle Yeoh as Madame Marble. And that's another issue. I think Madame Marble, like, talk about the actual Wicked Witch. Like, she conjured up a twister. That seems more wicked than anything they're trying to pin on Elphaba. But overall, I really love this film. Even though there are glaring issues, especially if you try to compare it to The Wizard of Oz, which I try really hard not to, but it is really difficult. I just think with these stories of people trying to be like, oh, this is just like a knockoff version, or it's just a kind of like the Black Phone thing. It's like, just make it a whole new character, make a whole new movie. Like, don't just borrow from it, because then it does get confusing, and then you can't yell at your audience for comparing, because that's just what we do. Like, it's pretty apparent that these are the same characters. You're just changing it to your own thing. And my biggest thing about the whole, well, don't look at the whole Wicked Witch being mean to Toto, but yet we needed a backstory on why Glinda's name is Glinda. Like, there's so many issues with it logically, even if it's not a Wizard of Oz knockoff, like the Cowardly Lion being mad because she saved him from being encaged his whole life. It's just stupid, but I love it. And it could be just because it's so fantastical. I just love this film, so I do watch it a lot, and I am going to read it next year. Oh yeah, one quick thing. When the first one came out, I was very distracted by the Ethan Slater and Ariana Grande drama going on, but I'm glad I finally kind of got over that stupid stipulation and watched it for as it is, and that could be why For Good was so much better. I liked how Glinda's story is more prominent and her changes are a lot more prominent, and Ethan Slater as Bach turning into the Tin Man, my sister and I's jaw was like on the ground. We had no idea he was going to be the Tin Man. And yes, he's so much different than the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz, and his reasoning is kind of stupid too. It's like, she turned me into a Tin Man. It's like, well, your other option is your heart would have given out and you would have died. So pick your battles, child. But he did it so well. His performance was so well done. Like, his acting of it was very much like the Harry Potter when Dumbledore's like, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire? He said calmly, and Matt Gamden like completely messed that whole line up because he didn't read the source material, and that was a mess up, in my opinion. But Ethan Slater, he actually portrayed it. Yes, it seems silly that that's what he's getting mad about, but he acted it so well, and I actually really like Ethan Slater now as an actor. So I'm like, oh, okay. So those are my the films I've watched this year. This isn't the ranking. I'm going to do that next. Hopefully no corrupt files in that one. But guys, please, if you did like this overall overall overview of all the films I've watched this year, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. What films have you seen? Which ones were your favorite? What did you think of them? And let's just have a conversation. I will see you guys soon for the ranking of all these 16 films. Thanks much. Bye.